The Great Room Makeover Challenge. The Johnson family was excited as they pulled up to their new home. The sprawling white house stood proudly at the end of a tree-lined street, its large windows glistening in the afternoon sun. Moving had been a long, exhausting process, but now that they were finally here, the real fun was about to begin. Decorating. Lucas and Emma, brother and sister, were particularly excited. At 10 years old, Lucas was obsessed with space, science, and all things mechanical. His room at the old house had been filled with model rockets, glow-in-the-dark stars, and diagrams of the solar system. Emma, on the other hand, was a year younger, and her world revolved around nature, animals, and vibrant colors. Her old room had been like stepping into a jungle, complete with a canopy bed draped in vines and fairy lights. As they dragged their bags up to the second floor, the two children exchanged curious glances. They both knew what was coming. They were going to share a room. In the new house, space was tight, and though their parents had promised each of them their own section, it wasn't exactly the same as having separate rooms. "Hey, at least we don't have to share the whole room," Lucas said, trying to stay positive. But deep down, both he and Emma knew there was potential for disaster. Mom and Dad walked in behind them. "All right, kiddos, here's the plan," said Dad, clapping his hands. "This room is bigger than your old ones, but since you'll be sharing it, we've decided to let you split it however you want." Emma's eyes lit up. "You mean we can decorate our own sides?" she asked. "Exactly," said Mom, with a mischievous grin. "Here's the catch, though. You have 3 days to design your space. We'll give you a budget and help with any big stuff, but you have to come up with the ideas." Lucas perked up. "Wait, we get to do whatever we want?" he asked, already imagining his side of the room as a space-themed command center. Mom and Dad nodded in unison. "Whatever you want, as long as you both agree on the dividing line," said Mom. "Oh, and the budget is equal for both of you." The kids looked at each other, their minds racing with possibilities. This was their chance to turn the room into a true reflection of their personalities, but it also meant they'd have to negotiate. And negotiation between Lucas and Emma was never easy. As soon as their parents left the room, the bickering began. "I'm taking the side with the window," Lucas declared, already moving his bags toward the wall with the big bay window. "No way," Emma protested. "I need the light for my plants." Lucas crossed his arms. "Well, I need the light for my experiments." Emma wasn't one to back down. "How about this?" she suggested, eyes narrowed. "We draw a line down the middle, and whoever gets the window gives up something else?" Lucas thought about it for a moment. "Fine," he agreed reluctantly. "But if I get the window, you have to stay out of my space, no creeping over to water your plants or anything." Emma sighed. "Deal," she said, holding out her hand. Lucas shook it, but both siblings knew this was only the beginning. The next day, armed with a tape measure and a roll of masking tape, Lucas and Emma divided the room straight down the middle. It wasn't perfect, but it was a truce. Lucas got the window, and Emma got the side closest to the door, which she liked because it was next to the closet where she could store her art supplies. Once the line was drawn, the real work began. Both siblings sat cross-legged on the floor, sketching out their ideas. Lucas was deep in thought, imagining a space where he could tinker with electronics, build robots, and hang his solar system models from the ceiling. He sketched out shelves for his rocket collection and planned to paint his walls a deep midnight blue with stars scattered across it. Emma, on the other hand, was drawing up a jungle paradise. She envisioned her side of the room painted in shades of green and yellow, with murals of trees and animals covering the walls. She wanted a reading nook filled with plush pillows shaped like animals and a canopy made of vines that hung over her bed. The next morning, the kids were ready to start decorating. They'd each given their parents a list of supplies they needed, and by the time breakfast was over, everything had been delivered to the house. Paint cans, brushes, shelves, fabric, and other decorations were piled in the living room, waiting for the siblings to get started. Lucas grabbed the ladder and immediately began painting his wall a dark, inky blue. He hummed to himself as he worked, imagining how cool it would look with stars and planets glowing above his bed. But just as he was finishing the first coat, Emma's voice interrupted his thoughts. Lucas, you're splattering paint everywhere. It's getting on my side. Lucas groaned. Well, maybe if you didn't have a jungle over there, it wouldn't matter, he shot back. Emma glared at him and quickly moved her plants away from the dividing line. Just stay on your side, she said, already busy painting her walls a vibrant shade of green. Her mural was coming along beautifully, with twisting vines and leaping tigers. She had grand plans to add colorful birds and butterflies before the day was over. By the end of the first day, Lucas's side of the room looked like a science lab in space, while Emma's side was beginning to resemble an exotic rainforest. But things weren't going as smoothly as either of them had hoped. Hey, Lucas, Emma called from across the room. Can you help me hang this canopy? Lucas was halfway through assembling a rocket launcher model. I'm busy, he replied, not looking up from his work. Emma scowled. Come on, I helped you with your stupid robot thing earlier. Lucas sighed and climbed off his stool. Fine, he muttered, grabbing the canopy and helping her drape it over the bed. Once it was up, Emma beamed. Thanks, she said, and for a brief moment, there was peace in the room. On the second day, things started to change. Both siblings were beginning to realize that their projects were more challenging than they'd anticipated. Lucas was trying to hang his solar system model, but the stars kept falling from the ceiling. Emma, meanwhile, was having trouble with her mural. She couldn't quite get the animals to look the way she wanted them to. Hey, Emma, Lucas said hesitantly. Can you help me with these stars? They keep falling. Emma looked up from her painting. Only if you help me with my mural, she countered. Lucas sighed. Deal. For the next few hours, the siblings worked together. Emma climbed the ladder to help Lucas secure his glowing stars to the ceiling, while Lucas used his steady hand to paint the details on Emma's tigers and birds. The room was starting to come together in a way neither of them had expected. While their sides were completely different, they complemented each other in a strange, magical way. Lucas's dark, starry universe seemed to blend seamlessly into Emma's vibrant jungle. The dividing line between their two worlds was still there, but now it felt less like a boundary and more like a creative border that united their imaginations. By the end of the second day, the room was almost complete. Lucas had set up his workbench and robot building station, and Emma had arranged her plants, books, and art supplies in her reading nook. They were both exhausted but excited to see how their parents would react. On the third day, after adding the final touches, the siblings stood back and admired their work. The room was unlike anything they'd ever seen. Lucas's side was dark and mysterious, filled with glowing stars, rockets, and science gear. Emma's side was a burst of life and color, with murals of animals, lush plants, and cozy reading spots. The room wasn't just a place to sleep anymore, it was a reflection of who they were, both individually and as a team. That evening, their parents came upstairs for the big reveal. Mom and Dad walked into the room, their jaws dropping in awe. Wow, Dad said, spinning around slowly to take it all in. This is amazing. I can't believe how creative you both were. Mom exclaimed, beaming at her children. Lucas and Emma exchanged a proud glance. They had started this project as rivals, each determined to outdo the other. But in the end, they had created something far more spectacular together than they ever could have alone. Well, Lucas said with a grin, it's not perfect, but it's ours. Emma nodded in agreement. Yeah, she added, it's our room. As their parents left the room, Lucas and Emma climbed into their respective beds, now proud of the space they had created. And while the dividing line between their sides still existed, they both knew that, in reality, it was just a line. They were stronger when they worked together. Over the next few weeks, the room became a place of constant activity. Lucas continued building his robots and space models, while Emma filled her side with new plants, paintings, and crafts.